Hello, welcome to the presentation on core functions of operating system. The operating system has four main tasks and managements. The first one is resource management. The second one is data management. The third one is task management, and the fourth one is IO standards. The basic idea of how the operating system manages all these is through this diagram. The application layer communicates with the shell. The shell communicates with kernel, and kernel communicates with the hardware. Each has different purposes and different limitations. The integral part of the operating systems applications. It consists of the user program, which provides most of the functionalities of the operating systems. Shell, it is work as a mediator between user programs and kernel. It provides the interface between the kernel hidden and the complexity of the kernel. The kernel, it is a core part of the operating systems, and it is mainly interact with the hardware. It is also responsible for the making the necessary instructions to the hardware. And hardware, it all consists of the peripherals that is required by the operating systems. So let's get into the details. Resource management. The resource management functions of an OS allocates the computer resources like the CPU time, main memory, secondary storage, and input and output devices for use. Whether resource can be handled like a stack variable, or whether a resource must be handled like a heap variable, such as a resource acquired within a function and then it returned from it. The distribution of the resources within the program on stack and heap are managed by the operating system, the resource management. Then there are the different approaches. The first one is unwind approach. The most common approach to resource management across the languages is to use unwind protection, which is called as when the execution exceeds the scope used in the it is used mostly in the popular languages like Java, Python, and Ruby. The second one is object oriented. Resources are enclosed within objects that use them. Objects can own resources, objects can view resources, and objects can communicate with other objects to let them have some resources. It also provides the facility of dynamic allocation of the memory for the user. The dynamic allocation and deallocation is also used for operating systems or processor cores, memory pages, and various types of bandwidth to computations that compete for those resources. The next one is data management. The data management of the function of OS governs the input and the output of the data and their location and storage and retrieval. The data management is generated by the user. Data is generated by the user, and the system needs to be stored and handled well for the better usability of the system. There are different types of file systems that are being used to store the data like NTFS and FAT32, etc. Each file structure has its own structure of storage and retrieval of the information. The part of the operating system that manages the physical storage and retrieval of the data on the disks and other devices are different. The disk access methods, index access methods are widely used to keep the track of the data records in file on the disk. The indexes is a table of contents which point us to the location of each file of the disk or each record within the file. It allows user to create, store, retrieve, and manipulate files interactively. The classification and manipulation and maintenance of the data is done by the operating system alone. The next one is task management. The job management function of OS prepares, schedules, controls, and monitors jobs submitted for execution to ensure the most efficient processing. It is a process of managing a task through a life cycle. There are different types of states involved in the operating systems. A job is a collection of one or more related programs and their data, and these multiple jobs are nothing but the small portion of the task which is being executed by the operating systems. Most popular way of executing a task is like divide and conquer. The particular task being divided into small chunk of codes and processes and threads, and those being executed by the operating system. These are the multiple states that task has to go through. The first is a task is assigned to the particular processors, and then it is get ready and assigned to the particular processor. It has a different states during its executions. First one is terminated, the second one is expired, the third one is forwarded, fourth one is finished, and the fifth one is failed. These are the multiple stages task has to go through while its execution. The last one is I/O standards. The OS establishes standard means of communication between users and their computers systems. It does this by providing a user interface and standard set of commands that control the hardware. An I/O system is required to take an application I/O request and send it to the physical device. Then it take whatever response comes back to it from the device, and it says send this to the applications. It has two types of devices. First one is block devices and second one is character devices. Block devices is communicate in terms of a block of the data, and character device communicates in terms of character of the data. It includes device controllers for the particular device, which works as an interface between the device and the device driver. It involves synchronous and asynchronous for the execution of the processes. Synchronous executions waits until the I/O standards, the I/O operations have been loaded, or I/O operations is been going on. Asynchronous operation, on the other hand, doesn't wait for the particular I/O operations to be executed. This is a graphical representation of the how I/O of standards being used. First, the applications will communicate with the operating systems. The operating systems level programs are communicating with the hardware. The operating systems programs can communicate with a bunch of different hardwares like monitor, printer, keyboard, etc. An application can request for any of these particular hardwares. So that was the core functions of operating systems overview. Thank you.